Hey, how's it going? Uh, so, this it's the first video I'm doing. Kind of excited to share a thought that I read that kind of marinated in my head. And yeah, to start it off, the source, pirkei abov, Breslov edition. So we got a little Rabbi Nachman going on. All right, so start with the first one because where else would you start? And I'm going to first read the translation of Mishnah 1. But before I do, quick background. Pirkei Avot is a Mishnah, so it's like oral Torah, so it's like core, fundamental, close to the fire of Judaism. But this one is actually really focused on how do you live a good life, which is, I don't know, one of the most important things to think about. And the commentary comes from Rabbi Nachman, who's the man who talks about how do you live like a really happy, fulfilled life. And he's coined the phrase, never be afraid, don't ever give up. He's the man. All right, so first Mishnah, I'll just read it in English. It says, Moses received the Torah from Sinai, transmitted it to Joshua, Joshua transmitted it to the elders, the prophets, the men of the great assembly. They said three things: be deliberate in rendering judgment, raise up many disciples, and make a fence around the Torah. A lot of ideas there. We don't have time to talk about each one, but essentially talking about the linealogy, like where the Torah like started and how it passed down and how it's come to us. And then it talked about like two ideas, one of which I really want to dive into a little, and that idea is the concept of raise up many disciples and what that means and what that means for us. So I was recently at a conference. It was pretty cool, had a lot of like important people there. I wasn't one of the important people there, but I was there and I met some really interesting people. One of the guys I met was this guy who's like spent his life as this like uber successful CEO and investor, and we were just chatting one evening, and his current job is to be a CEO coach. And he's got like very high profile clients, like three of them you guys probably heard of are the three founders from Airbnb. So like, mega, the guy's worth billions of dollars, like running a huge company, right? So like he obviously like knows a lot about people and what makes them tick because that's his job. And he told me that there's 50 things that drive people in general. Like you can break down each person's motivation to one primary of these 50 different motivations. So he didn't really run through the list, but he said that for people in tech, people in Silicon Valley, people in essentially entrepreneurs and trying to do big things and whatever, like their primary motivation isn't money, which is what a lot of people assume. Their primary motivation is impact. Like they live to have a big impact. And it kind of makes sense when you think about like people like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and I guess the Airbnb founders. Like they want to leave the world having impacted the greatest amount of people in the deepest way possible. So that's their focus, that's their driving force. And so this actually I think really connects to the Mishnah, which leaves us with one idea, which is like that we're starting off this really powerful book with three ideas, one of which is have many students, or in Hebrew, ve'amidu talmidim harbe, so to raise up many students. And what I really think this means is that the greatest impact you can leave in the world is having people having people learn from you, and really learn. I think we say learn in a lot of different ways. Like I learned that blue jays are fairly aggressive birds, or I learned this fact, I learned that fact, I learned the date that the Constitution was signed. But really to learn something means that it becomes part of you and it changes you. It touches your very essence, so that after you've learned something, you're fundamentally a different person. And when you look at learning through that light, you sort of understand that that's the deepest way you can impact somebody, because you've changed them, and then everyone that they interact with for the rest of their life is going to interact with the changed version of them, who in turn is probably going to learn the lesson that you taught them, and then hopefully some of those people become infused with the thing that you taught that person, who then taught other people it, just because they've interacted with you. And so if you look at it, it's kind of like an epic pyramid scheme of teaching and changing lives. But that's really what impact is. And it's neat when you think about this like big idea of impact and learning, and how that connects to the very beginning of the mission, which is saying that God gave Moses the Torah on Mount Sinai. So in a way, like when you think about it through that perspective, like Moses, he's a man who had serious impact. Like, forget about the Airbnb founders. Like, that dude straight up like has taught through the transitive property millions and billions of people, because the Torah ideals of the ethics and the caring and a lot of like these ideals like are infused through our society, because they become more than just things you memorize, but things that shape who we are and have shaped generations of people, and will continue to hopefully shape many more generations of people. And so I don't know, I realize this video is getting a little long, and I don't know what that sound was, and